Ta-da! And welcome to Josef's Model Railway and Toy Room. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, just a bit of housekeeping. You don't need to like, follow or subscribe. I just put the videos out there where I can and have a holy jolly great time doing so. Well, today you've been super patient. We've managed to build our model golf course, which of course we took inspiration from Red Dwarf and their model golf course that was in action. Now, for those of you that haven't seen, let's call it the first part of this video about building the tee box, there is of course a link right here, and I invite you to go and see it because we can see how we've ended up with the second half we're going to talk about today. Also, I just want to dispel a little bit of a myth that some people may have been confused with, thinking I made a mistake. Could you believe a world where that could possibly be the case? On the tee box, I'm not sure if the camera's going to see it just where we are, but generally we have our three marker colors depending on your expertise of golf. Blue usually represents the advanced players or pro players. Then we obviously have our white color, which is more so for the intermediate players. And then of course we work down to the red, which is generally the more closer one, which of course is what was traditionally known as the women's and or beginners or novices. And even then I still need to go further down somewhere. I'm just not that good. But the whole idea is generally you would see it as blue, white, and if we go down, you would see red. But the interesting thing is, if you spend a moment looking at the orientation, it is right. And if you bothered to look in the first video closely, where I did up the little hole guide that shows the map of the location of how the hole is laid out, you would notice that both the advanced and intermediate, so the blue and white, are actually facing in one direction. And if you look carefully, you'll notice that for the novice, beginners, people that are much better than me, let's be honest, will be teeing off from the red, and it's slightly in a different direction. That's because there's a separate part of the green for them and they get a slightly higher par number and more shots to achieve where they need to go. Just dispelling that, because there's always a purist that's going to put everything else wrong about this wonderful concept of mine. Not to keep you in any more suspense, but may I just say that I'm just putting the finishing touches to our Dad's Army cricket field here, which is very, very close. We're probably only 95% complete now, and it's like nothing I've ever seen before. Regarding the videos, that means you're probably going to be another 4 to 6 weeks until you at least see it. But the results will be fantastic, I guarantee it. And it's going to frame the whole section up nicely. As you would have seen in a previous video, you'll notice a signal box that was called Noodle Knocker Junction, which we're going to see the construction of in a few videos' time. I might quickly tell you about the name of that if you haven't figured it out. Obviously, we're going to have train lines passing through here. The reason it's called Noodle Knocker Junction, we're referring to the noodle as your head. And the fact that you're going past a golf course and a cricket field on the other end, someone could be slogging a 6, and respectively, someone could be driving for a hole in 1. Either of them come off slightly. If you were walking along here or on an open wagon train, there's a whole chance you could get a very serious knock to the noodle. Hence, Noodle Knocker Pass, and of course, Noodle Knocker Junction is where I took that from. I know, brilliant, right? Okay, you've been very patient. We're not going to go too much into the building per se, a little bit of voiceover, but mostly I've got the finished project here, and have a look what we've come up with. We've done a great job over here. Let's follow this young lady now and see where she's heading over as she finds her ball.
Well, it's a swing and a miss on this one, I'm afraid. No, seriously, let's kick back at the tee box, which is where we started off. Some rudimentary measurements, and we take a bit of detail from that. Well, of course, you'll remember in the previous video, we constructed, we painted, and put together these golf carts. I mention it because, of course, we're going to use the second one in this particular scene on the putting green. The Weiler Golf Course, which had this recent dam. I say recent, it's probably about 10, 20 years ago now it was constructed to keep the greens further further irrigated. And I decided to go with a Woodland Scenics shade of water tint. I went with a moss green, and I think, as you can see, that's going to help us with a reasonable type of appearance. The construction of the dam, just using sculpt-a-mold, sealed it up with a bit of PVA, painted a bit of a murky sort of a browny green. It's called swamp brown if you're interested. Did the same around our around our bunkers, and inspiration on the scene came from the neighbouring town in Maryborough, Queensland, Australia. Now, these are just a street view, particular pictures that you drive past, and it's what has given me great inspiration. Of course, I went back, on a day that was much clearer to take my own pictures. And as you can see, that little loop there, and of course what you can see here to the left, is one of their tee boxes with the blue markers, and it's the hole 7 guide respectively. But of course, yes, this is where all the golf carts will come and park up as they go and take their shots, and away they go. A hole now in the distance, that the whole idea with the different shades of green to achieve it, lighter as they went on, and again, Woodland Scenics. But let's pay attention to those palm trees in the background. That's what I'm trying to get you in, and the focus is where I took my inspiration from, that you can see, and a bit of a water feature. This scene really does capture everything I wanted to have, and I think I did reasonably well. And as you can see, well maintained, so we need some gardeners doing a great job there, which is why I have a chap up on the ladder with his hedge trimmer just framing things up nicely to add a little bit of interest, because everyone needs to participate to make a memorable scene, and as a result, that's what we're trying to deliver. So palm trees in the back, a water feature, well manicured grounds, and of course, the key thing is we're going to need some bunkers. And we want something that looks good. Here are some real life pictures here. Again, we've got those contrasting colors, but most importantly, I wanted to have an island bunker. And that's what it was always going to be about. Again, Woodland Scenics grass mat is what I used, and to achieve the bunkers with the texture, that is of course just a grout known as Cornsilk by Davco, although something similar will get you there nicely.
It's in the rough.
Nice birdie. Oh, it's in the deep stuff. Get up. Nice birdie. Nice birdie.
Girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen, that does now indeed conclude yet another video. Hard to believe how many there could possibly be, and we're still only on the first section. Well, not to stress at all. I want to apologize for the rather complicated camera angles. I don't want to reveal too much away in here, but of course, tee box. Now we have our beautiful putting green. I could not be happier with the entire way the process came out with our little island bunker here. The fact we've got a dam here to service the water and keep everything looking green as seen in some of those earlier pictures. The fact we've got a little bit of wildlife going on there. Again, we come back, this is the second custom built golf cart that we have here. So I think it really does frame up nicely. And one thing that only just struck me the other day, what's so good about this is 90% of every model railway is going to end up with these types of cutoffs at the end of a curve. And I can't think of any better way than really just facilitating it, rather than just laying down a little bit of scenery, a few trees or a gentle rolling hill. I mean, what a tremendous way to really use up what is an effectively dead area. And if you think it wasn't good enough seeing that, you've got no idea what I've got planned in my head going on this other loop at the moment. Something, once again, nothing's even been done in the past like this. So much so, I've managed to get the bits I need and I'm starting to model it from scratch. I will probably work my hardest once again to do this modular thing so it lifts in and out. I really do think that is a really great way to go, especially for building it. But especially in a situation like this, because what we end up with is where it needs to join up. Unlike those of you dedicated people that travel on the model railway circuit and have layouts that need to be pulled apart, taken from show to show, the fact where the boards need to join, I know you do everything you possibly can. I'm not really big into that. But I think this is quite good because I end up with a reasonably seamless approach. Again, we've still got a bit of work to do where the downline to the fiddle yard is going to happen. But as far as I'm concerned, our golf course here at Noodle Knocker Junction, or Noodle Knocker Pass, which is what this section of train line will be called, and we're still waiting on sorting those signals out, is what it's all about. So we'll see you in the next one. Stay safe. Toodles!